What's up everyone, I'm Tag, and welcome to another video. This is going to be the start of something new I'm going to do, which is going to be, I'm going to have a few D&D story time. I'm sticking with D&D at the moment. I'm going to probably branch out into like anime and games and stuff and talk about some of that good shit at some point, because I want to talk about Blue Lock soon. Holy shit. I've been reading that for the last month or two. And I'm just loving it. But anyway, D&D. We're going to talk about some story times from my last campaign. But before I can go into any of the actual tales of what happened throughout that campaign, I'm going to have to introduce the characters, which is what this video is, and I might, depending on how long it takes, have a bit of a little story at the end. So let's just get into it. I've got reference, thankful. There you go. That is the party. Well, that's the party by the end of the campaign. The characters who were the core part of the campaign are in fact there were 3 less characters that were really a main part of the campaign, really, and 4 less characters if you consider just who was starting, because it was just a party of 4 at the beginning. However, 3 of the players ended up playing 2 characters. And we ended up gaining an extra player near the end of the campaign. I've got my problems with some things that happen in the campaign, but we'll get to them at another point. But let's start off with Glenn, who is the elven Swarmkeeper Ranger. I believe Swarmkeeper, and he replaced his swarm with a murder of crows, basically. And those crows, each one represented a person who had died in one of his village, and they were... each one had been named after that, and it was just a case of, somehow he keeps all of these crows. There was loads of them. There's so many. How does he keep them all in his coat? No one knows. We don't know. It just kind of was. And it was a regular thing that the crows would be often used for a bit of comedy relief every so often. As well as that, Glenn was the heart and soul of the group, I'm going to be honest. Fuck off, you stupid bastard. My phone just went off. That's now on mute. Now, so Glenn was basically the heart and soul of the group. He was a very, very friendly elven fellow. I don't want to get into much about him yet, because there's some things that happen in the campaign, shall we say. And if any of my players are watching this, you know what I'm referring to. The unfortunate things that happened. Then we have next along from Glenn, we have the half-orc, Carrie, which is in fact actually Glenn's adopted daughter. Again, this, I would say, I without ruining the surprise of a later video, possibly, also one of the nicest characters in the group. There were 3 characters, really, that were just really, really kind people. One of which kind of changes a little bit later on because he gets sick of everyone's shit. But that's different. Carrie was the adopted daughter of Glenn, who he found as a baby and basically raised on his own. Both of them, because obviously father and daughter, both of them had Welsh accents, which none of us were expecting. So it really took us off guard as soon as that voice came out, which I had no clue as a DM that was going to be happening, but it happened. So that was a funny moment. That was an interesting moment. Carrie went through her own set of, I think, honestly, out of everyone in the fucking party, throughout the course of the campaign, if we're talking about specifically what happens in the campaign, she is the most traumatized character based on the events of the campaign, which I feel terrible about, because she was again, those two were the most normal people, the nicest people, kind of thing. They were just the kindest motherfuckers in the group. But yeah, then next along in the white with the, is it a lute? I believe it's a lute. We have Percy Ottoman, a noble from a neighbouring country. The mask on his belt is probably something you're seeing as similar to another character at the opposite end of the thing, which we'll get to him later, because he is a very interesting character. And I am going from this side onwards, and he's the weirdest motherfucker out of all of them. But Percy, I don't know if you can tell by the picture, but he's a bard, as you could probably never have imagined in your wildest dreams. He's a bard, and he was a very interesting take on it, because he went for the typical horny bard thing at first, only to have him change throughout the campaign, and he's the character that started off and he was just like really nice, really just friendly with everyone. Except later on, there was a moment where he just got sick of everyone's shit and almost turned to the dark side, which would have been an interesting take. But yeah, there's some interesting tales with that character. Next along, the animal-looking guy, Kygro. I want to address a problem at some point when it came to Kygro, which was, I feel like this is one of my issues as a DM, which I kind of think I gave Kygro a bit more spotlight than he should have had compared to everyone else. Given that if I'm remembering everything, there seemed to be a lot more spotlight on his character than many of the others. Which I feel like is down to the fact that I knew his character a lot more, simply because the player was, in fact, my flatmate, so I was able to talk to him every day about his character. I was able to ask anything at any time and get an answer straight away. So that came down to an annoying situation where, looking back, I think I gave him a bit too much spotlight, but at the same time, he was also a very interesting character. Very basic in terms of, like, very basic in terms of the way that he goes, but also very interesting, because he was a noble from another country. However, the culture of that country was very much tribalistic. The strongest survive. The king is chosen through trial by combat instead of lineages. All of that kind of thing. Where he was essentially sent on a quest because his country was at war and he was sent to obtain an artifact, which ended up being pretty much meaningless by the end of it, because he was already way fucking strong enough to deal with that war on his own. Well, with the party. Anyway, yeah. Then the next one, the Dwarven character. This was the second character played by the player for Kygro. And this is a character he already had from a couple of years before anyway, and it's one that I dropped into the world. And eventually he just went, hey, I'd like to play this character again. So I let him. His name's Job. Full name, Job Like a Finder, because he couldn't find a job. That's not a joke. That's literally. Yes, that's his name. He's a blacksmith and former mercenary. Yeah, blacksmith and former mercenary. That's pretty much everything there, and I don't want to spoil something that could happen in the future for that character. But there is a story involving him as well. Next up we have the Goliath, Keldor, and I'll wait until the end to say what I was going to say there. Keldor is the character of the player who joined very late in the game. He joined basically near the end of the campaign, about 2 or 3. He was in it for maybe 2 or 3 sessions. Something along those lines. Maybe not 3, but 4, maybe 5 sessions total. He joined very late. Like, he joined when the group went to the final location of the final confrontation, kind of thing. There's not much to say about him. I don't want to talk shit, because just in case the players watching this, which, if he is, hello, I've got my problems with this character. I'm pretty sure he knows that. I've said before what my problems with this character are. But, yeah. He's relatively basic. It's the typical players first character kind of thing. And for some reason he wanted to try and be different. He'd never played D&D before. So I suggested Barbarian, which is the kind of character he wanted, but then he was like, oh, I want to play Barbarian and this. He wanted to be a multi-class character he'd never played before. I did not think that was a good idea, and I still think that was a bad idea, because he ended up wishing he'd just gone full Barb, which he should have. But yeah, anyway. Next up, we've got two characters that could not be further from each other in terms of who they are. And they were both played by the same person as well. So, the one above is called Pucko. He was in it very little. He came into it just maybe a session or two before Keldor. Pucko is a storm sorcerer, and he flies around on that giant feather like a surfboard. It's fucking weird. I don't think any of us expected to hear that's how he used. He's fucking weird. Okay. He's this fucking happy, friendly, like, ridiculously carefree stoner sort of dude. And all of us were here for it. It was fucking brilliant. It was amazing. And then we have the one below, which couldn't be any further from Pucko, because he was the most monotone, and I don't say this in a bad way. He was the most monotone, depressing, not dull, but like socially awkward, unfriendly, matter-of-fact kind of guy ever. He was human monk, who wore an owl mask. He just went by the name Owl. Yeah, I don't know what to say about him other than you can get the kind of idea about who he is just looking, because it's fucking weird. This party had two complete opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of, you've got the fucking weirdos like Owl. You've got the friendliest of friendly people like Glenn and Carrie. The most eccentric motherfuckers ever like Pucko and Percy. And then you've got Kygro, who was just sort of battered and bruised, like older warrior kind of dude. Veteran. I honestly liked this party. I did like this party. It went from just 4 characters to, how many is this now? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, no, 8 characters. Fucking hell. Alright. It went from a party of 4 to 8. It doubled in that. Yeah, sure. I'm not going to say anything, because me and my players know what happened. What the fuck was... I'm sorry, my computer just decided to do a weird thing and I don't know what it did. But either way. Let's see. 15 minutes. I'm not going to do a story time. This is kind of just going to be an introduction for my campaign 1 story times. I'll use this as a character introductions for any stories. So, yeah, I'm not going to edit this down. I can't be arsed. I'm lazy as fuck. I don't have the money for an editor, and I don't have I don't have the fucking patience to go. I'm gonna learn a free editor. Yeah. So that is the party for my first campaign, and I'm very happy with how that first campaign went. There were problems with it. There were good things and bad things that happened in that campaign. It's the first campaign I've ever ran from start to finish. And I think, honestly, this is sort of me doing these story times is not only a way for me to just sort of tell these stories, it's a way for me to sort of help myself reflect on what I did as a dungeon master, what my party did, and to make me sort of think to myself, how could I maybe improve my DMing skills for my next campaign. I did start running another campaign not too long ago, and then that ended because the entire group died. I'm not joking. It was TPK. Level 3. Straight away. It was the most pathetic fucking thing I've ever seen. I'm not joking. But yeah. That's going to be it for this video. If you enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more content. I might record another one right now for the sake of having a story time up. The story times could be longer or shorter, depending on. So the one I've got in mind that I might say might just be about 5 minutes. So, yeah. That's going to be it, though. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment. If you got any questions about the party. No one's watching this, but if you are, hello. Yes. I will see you in the next video. Bye.